everyone, and welcome to Guild Wars Teams and Builds. In today's video, we're going to cover midline and backline positioning, why it matters, and how proper positioning can help your team perform more effectively in combat. In this example, let's pretend the melee is going to do a corner pull. If you look at the compass, no one's aggro bubble should touch the melee's position. The same applies to spirits. The reason casters should keep their aggro bubble away from the melee is to prevent enemies from scattering during the pull. This allows the team to kill enemies faster, avoid wasting energy, and keep the fight under control. One thing to keep in mind is to avoid standing to the side of the melee while they are pulling because enemies can break away from the group. For SOS, keep spirits between the melee and casters, or directly on the front line after the target is called. For Resto, ST, or EOE, keep spirits in the back and avoid placing them on your hero as well. If you are bringing spirits, avoid placing them directly on your allies. Enemies will usually target anything with the lowest HP or armor. This can cause enemies to use AoE skills, damaging anyone standing nearby. Another common mistake is casting too early or placing spirits too close before enemies are balled. Here's an example of what not to do. As you can see, both midline players are within the front line's aggro range. This can cause enemies to split instead of staying grouped together. Here's a tip on how to help ball enemies as a SOS when playing with melee. I only recommend using this tactic if you and the melee player are familiar with playing together and understand how to coordinate the pull. First, place your spirits where you want the enemies to ball, then move back to a safe distance outside the aggro range. Second, the melee player will pull the enemies with a bow and run back through your spirits to reduce the chance of getting hexed. Third, use summon spirits to bring the enemies back while the melee player moves back into position to hold them. Since the spirits were the first target and often have the lowest HP and armor in the group, the enemies will usually stay focused on them. Last, move behind the melee and place your spirits to help hold aggro. Do this either when the melee pings a target or when you think the front line may have trouble holding enemies. Placing spirits helps reduce the damage your team takes because enemies will focus on attacking them instead of your team. However, as you can see, the midline players were inside aggro range, which caused the enemies to pause instead of grouping properly. City is a great example of using wall blocking. The team should always position themselves against the corner or edge of the area, not on the opposite side where enemies have nothing to be held against. I see this mistake happen too often. Always check your compass to understand how enemies patrol and look for areas you can use to your advantage. This covers the basics of mid and backline positioning. Proper positioning helps keep enemies grouped, reduces pressure on your team, and makes fights easier to control. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.